So now we will talk about animal application. So we will step back from the competition and the technical part, but we will really focus on the benefits in animals. And here I would like to start with what are actually the signs of selenium deficiencies in monogastric animals, and we will start with swine. So the first one, when we talk about boars, how do we see that those animals may be deficient in selenium? Mainly due to the reduced sperm motility. So this is something which is very, very much linked to selenium, because the part of the sperm cell which is, let's say, the engine of the sperm, so it's really acting for the motility, this is very high in selenium. And if there is a low level of selenium, this whole system doesn't act very well, and this can lead to this reduced sperm motility. For sows, how we can see selenium deficiency, it's linked to everything with mastitis, metritis, agalactica. We can see retained placenta, an infrequent milk letdown, a prolonged parturition, chronic infections. So these are typically things where a selenium deficiency can be behind. Sows that are deficient in selenium will also lead to deficient piglets. And here for newborn piglets, what we see is when they are deficient in selenium, we have a weakness, there can be an iron toxicosis, and there can be a lot of piglet diarrhea going on. For older pigs or older piglets, or 4 to 12 weeks old piglets, if there is a severe selenium deficiency, there can be a dietary liver necrosis, the Mulberry heart disease, which can lead to sudden death, a muscle degeneration, so myopathy, and there can be any kind of gastric ulcers. So really very complex symptoms that we can see when selenium deficiencies are occurring. For the Mulberry heart disease, this is something where people, and also the dietary liver necrosis, where people directly see, okay, this must be a problem of selenium. But for the others, it's something which is not 100% solved. Whenever anyone sees, oh, the piglet has diarrhea, the first thing that comes to mind is not selenium, and this is a problem because it's not tested frequently, and this is often causing these problems. So what are the benefits then if we have a good bioavailable source of selenium in swine? So we can increase the selenium meat content. This is something which is important for us human, because we also don't want to be deficient. It can also lead to less meat oxidation. So it can increase the shelf life of meat and keep the meat in a better quality. Everything which is linked to reproduction, so improved semen quality, generally less selenium deficiencies, fewer piglet mortalities, but also selenium transfer. And selenium transfer, this is something that an inorganic selenium cannot do. This is clearly linked to organic selenium, and this means to improve the selenium transfer, to enhance natural immune defenses of piglets, and to reduce nutritional muscular dystrophies. What are the recommended levels of selenium for swine? So here, depending on the species, so for sows, the recommendation is typically 0.3 ppm for total selenium, but in combination of organic selenium and inorganic selenium during the gestation phase and lactation phase, to really make sure that there is a high transfer of selenium to piglets and into the colostrum to improve the quality, but also to improve the piglet immunity. For boars, for semen quality as well, 0.3 ppm. For piglets below 20 kg, the recommendation is even higher, so 0.4 ppm in a combination of organic and inorganic selenium. And for fattening pigs, whenever you have challenging conditions and you want to maintain the meat quality high, here it's also to include 0.2 ppm in a combination with inorganic selenium to make sure that the antioxidant status of those animals is high and the meat quality as a consequence as well. So let's have a look into the selenium status improvement of sows and how it can be transferred to the piglets. So this is a study which is quite old, but very, very interesting, because what was done in this study was that organic selenium compared to inorganic selenium was provided to sows 6 days before farrowing. Calving, I see I have a small mistake here, before farrowing until 14 days in milk. There were different treatments, or there was a basal diet without any selenium. There was sodium selenite at 0.15 ppm and 0.3 ppm, and then selenized yeast at 0.15 ppm and 0.3 ppm, or a combination of those. And what they tested was they measured the selenium concentration in the blood or in the serum of sows, and later on also in the milk and in the serum of piglets. So let's first have a look into the sows. The blue line that you can see here, this was the level of selenium in average of the sows before the supplementation started. So it was at 0.14 milligram per liter selenium. After 14 days, so 14 days after farrowing, what happened in the basal diet? The level decreased, so it's quite normal. If you don't include any selenium in the diet, it will decrease over the time. For the inorganic selenium, so the low dose and the high dose in gray and black, it increased significantly compared to the basal diet. Oh, sorry. And for the organic selenium, it also increased. So the 0.3 ppm organic selenium increased it, not significantly higher, but numerically higher compared to inorganic selenium. So what we can conclude here is that both inorganic and organic selenium were able to increase the selenium status of the sows after 20 days of supplementation. So inorganic selenium works quite well as organic selenium. But the big difference is coming here. While inorganic selenium was working in the sow, it didn't have any impact on the piglets. So when it comes to the selenium secretion into the milk, so it means how much selenium was transferred into the milk of the sow, so in the colostrum, you see that for the inorganic in gray and black, there was no difference compared to the basal diet in light blue. While all the organic selenium groups, they had a significantly higher level of selenium in the colostrum, and the 0.3 ppm selenized yeast was the highest, significantly higher compared to the lower dose. The same pattern for 14 days, so also a significant increase for the organic selenium. And this was then transferred into the piglets. So after 14 days, they measured the selenium concentration in the serum of piglets, and you see there was no significant increase for the inorganic selenium compared to the basal diet, while only organic selenium was able to significantly increase the selenium concentration in the piglets. So if we can summarize, inorganic selenium works quite well for the sow, but it cannot help to really transfer this selenium to the piglet, what we want to have, because this is the only way how those 2-3 weeks old piglets can get selenium through the milk. So here the only possibility to increase the level of selenium and improve the immunity of piglets is to go for organic selenium, as it's very efficient to be transferred into the milk. Then when it comes to meat quality for pigs, it's something which has been tested in many, many different studies. So I just want to show you one, which is comparing inorganic selenium and organic selenium. They measured the selenium concentration in the meat first. So there were 2 trials where those different sources were provided to the pigs for either 3 months or 4 months, and in both cases there was a significant increase in the selenium concentration compared to sodium selenite. So it was increased in trial 1 by 53% and in trial 2 by almost 100%. But what was more interesting than the selenium concentration in the meat was the link to the meat oxidation. And meat oxidation means here in this case the lipid oxidation. So they measured the MDA content in the meat. So after day 1 or day 7 in trial 1, or in the second trial, they extended it till day 12. And what you can see is that overall there was a strong decrease in lipid peroxidation, so much lower MDA levels in the meat samples from the Optimin SeY fed pigs. So overall, we can say that using organic selenium compared to inorganic selenium allows to improve the pork meat quality, so to reduce really the level of lipid peroxidation, and this is linked to the antioxidant status, which is higher in animals that get a better bioavailable organic selenium.